Hi everyone, welcome to Mel's Watercolor Studio. Today I am going to do a small painting of a seahorse. This one's going to be a little bit more free and I'm not really going to control a lot of the pigment. So as usual, I've got my 2 buckets of water, my brushes, my palette, and then I've got a lot of different fun colors here that I'm going to use. And then I'm also going to use iridescent medium after I'm finished. I'm going to go over the pigment with this, and it's going to give it a nice fun glitter effect. So let's get started. So I'm basically going to use kind of a smaller brush. Hopefully you can see that. I can't really tell sometimes where my camera is. So I'm going to use a smaller brush here. I'm just going to get my brush a little wet. And what's good about this being a little bit more freeform is that I don't really have to worry about where I'm going to start. I'm just going to kind of pick an area and just, gotta put some of my paint down first. That'd probably be good. So I'm just going to pick a couple of colors here just to start off with. I'll do my permanent yellow-green, which is basically just a lime green color, and then maybe phthalo blue. Put these down. And then I'll get vermilion, which is just kind of a red, orangish color. And then maybe purple. I'll get a violet in here. Okay. And I'm going to add other colors later. I'm just going to get these down for right now on my palette here. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of pick an area here, just in the center. Put some of my water down. And if you really wanted to, there's a lot of different like little white spaces in here. If you wanted to, prevent from getting the pigment over those, you could put masking fluid down. I'll probably use that later on in another video. I'll show you guys how you can use that. You just basically put it down and let it dry, and then you can paint over it. And then when you're finished, you just kind of rub it off with your fingers or an eraser, and it'll save those whites for you. So I'm just going to kind of just start putting colors down here. I'm going to do a lot of like moving of the paper just to let this pigment flow and kind of do its own thing here. Some green. Just gonna kind of let that drip out like that. And if you wanted to, you could use like a spray bottle. That's another way to get just different like clean water onto the paper, and it helps move that pigment around just a little bit. So I'm just dropping this pigment onto the paper and letting it fall. Okay. Get some purple, blue. I don't have a lot to say about this just because it is so, like I said, just so relaxed and just freeform, and I don't have to control the pigment as much as I usually do on some of my other pieces. And I got some yellow here. Just keep watering down your brush and getting a lot of water on there, because the more water you have, the more the pigment's going to move around, and that's really what we're aiming for in this piece. And if you get some of it in the white areas, that's okay. You can always go back over it later with just white watercolor pigment, or you can get an X-Acto knife and just kind of very carefully scrape that paint off. But you have to be careful not to scrape too much of the paper. This is one of my favorite things about watercolors, that it's so, just the pigment, just watching it flow in the water, it's just, it's very relaxing, it's very beautiful. It's just so different from any other medium that I've used. And it kind of, I mean, as free as it is, sometimes it takes people a while to get used to it. It took me a while to get used to it. And now I'm trying to go back to oils, and it's definitely a change. You might be able to see this, that I kind of made guidelines of where I want the pigment to go out. For the most part, I'm just letting it flow where it wants to. You can go back in areas that you've already worked and just kind of put more pigment down. Because with watercolor, and maybe, you know, a lot of mediums actually, it's going to appear a lot darker when it's wet, and then when it dries, it's going to, that color is going to fade just a little bit. So definitely want to make sure you go back in and deepen your colors here. I think I'm going to get some pink here. Just going to kind of paint for a while and just let you guys watch me do this. Let this flow down this way. Really all I'm aiming for with this is just to get kind of the basic shape of the Seahorse. I'm not too worried about certain lines or anything like that. I just want the basic form, and then obviously, I don't know if you can see it, the eye here, that's really the only two things, is the form and that eye that I want. The light seems to be going out or something. I'm gonna grab a towel really fast so I can get some of this extra water up. And I'm just taking my brush and soaking up some of that water, and then wiping it off on my towel. Okay. It's kind of getting muddy a little bit here. It's kind of getting a brown color that I don't like very much, so I'm going to quickly put some water down and kind of clean that up a little bit. Okay, get some orange. And you can do this in any color you want. I just thought it would be fun to do a lot of different colors. Didn't really feel like picking just one, but you can do it in blue, green, yellow, red, anything you want. It's starting to get muddy again. I'm just going to do that same thing, just go and pick up some of it. And that's going to happen. I mean, that's just because I'm mixing so many different colors. So it wants to make that brown color. Just go back in and change it up there. So after this is dry, I'm going to go over it with that iridescent medium that I was talking about earlier. And you can mix that with your watercolors if you like. But after a little bit of experimenting, I found that just applying it over the pigment is much more effective. Sorry about my light, it's windy outside and it's causing the lights to flicker, I think. So I'm going to get some pink for the tail here, and this is one area. Okay, so my camera decided to run out of memory on me, so I lost a little bit of my video. Not too much. I think from where I left off I pretty much just did this area. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly finish up this painting, at least just getting the pigment down, and then I'll dry it, and then I'll bring you guys back and I'll show you how to do the iridescent medium and go over it with a little bit of ink. Alright, so I'll see you guys in a bit.